The last thing Salvie remembers before going to bed is greeting her parents and her older brother goodnight. She also remembers tucking in her calico kitten, Lika, right next to her on her bed. But the next morning after Salvie wakes up, she stands at the foot of a tall, massive staircase, still in her pajamas. There must be hundreds of steps on the staircase. The steps reach all the way beyond the clouds. It's a stairway to heaven. Having no other way to go, Salvie starts to walk up the stairway. In cloudy, windy, and misty weather, the tread is long, seemingly never-ending and exhausting. But somehow, Salvie makes it to the top, where a golden pagoda sits in mid-air. Inside the pagoda are ancient sacred relics, artifacts, and artworks lined all around against the walls. In the middle of the floor is a banquet table of delicious food and beverages. Salvie figures it must be a feast for the gods and how she shouldn't be in there. She turns around quickly to go back down the stairway, but an echoing voice suddenly tells her to stop. Salvie stops on her steps and slowly looks back over her shoulder. No one else is in sight besides herself. "Hello? Anybody in here?" Salvie calls out. "My apologies, I shouldn't have come here. I'm going to leave right now." "Stay," the echoing voice commands Salvie. "Go to the table, please." Salvie carefully approaches the banquet table. Her name is neatly scribbled on a place card laid nicely on the center of the table. Salvie's eyes light up at her name surrounded by a heavenly feast. Everything is for her to devour. After a long, arduous flight of stairs, Salvie does not hold back any longer. Salvie enjoys her feast, then falls into a nap. When it's time for Salvie to wake up, the doors across the other side of the pagoda slide open. Behind the doors is another set of pathways. Masses of land rocks scattered all over float in the sky amongst the clouds. These land rocks are far apart from each other, but all the multiple different pathways lead to a huge tree from a distance. The huge tree has a door towards the bottom of its trunk. It has fat, long roots that stretch all the way from one land rock to the next, serving as bridges. Mystified and curious, Salvie naturally takes her steps towards the land rock pathways, balancing herself as she crosses the tree roots and taking breaks as she reaches one land rock to the next. When Salvie finally arrives to the tree, the door on its trunk automatically opens. Salvie is blinded by a bright, illuminating light coming through the door as it opens. But the blinding light soon subsides, and a bustling town square is revealed. Street merchants everywhere, merchants pulling their carts, musicians playing on the streets, kids playing on the streets, men and women chit-chatting with each other or haggling with merchants. To Salvie, it seems like a town festival, but beyond the town square lies a castle on top of a hill not too distant from the square. Meow! Salvie's thoughts are interrupted by a sudden meow. Salvie looks down on the ground to find her own kitty sitting on the ground staring up at her. "Lika!" Salvie exclaims as she stoops down to scoop up Lika. But Lika runs away before Salvie can even touch her. Lika stops and looks behind her shoulders at Salvie. Lika meows at Salvie one more time and motions for Salvie to follow, who ends up obeying. Lika leads Salvie all the way towards the castle. As soon as Lika and Salvie arrive at the castle doors, the doors automatically open and the two are greeted by a red carpet aisle. On both sides of the red carpet are throngs of people cheering, clapping, and smiling at Salvie. Flower petals are showered along the red carpet. Surprised and confused, Salvie freezes on her feet but scans the throngs of people cheering for her. Towards the front left side of the red carpet, Salvie lands her gaze on some people she recognizes. "Mom, Dad, older brother," Salvie exclaims and immediately, but carefully and hesitantly, starts to walk down the red carpet aisle towards her family. Salvie's family are smiling from ear to ear at Salvie and clapping. When Salvie gets to them, they congratulate Salvie, give her a big hug, and motions for her to step up on the altar right in front. At the altar, Salvie joins a tall young man in luxurious velvet mantle clothing. A crown rests over his head. A shiny inverted obelisk crystal necklace hangs around his neck. "Salvie, do you take our beloved crown prince to be your husband?" An officiator at the altar states. "What? Wait." Salvie interrupts the officiator and takes a good glimpse of the crown prince, who turns to face Salvie. Salvie's eyes widen and her mouth drops open as she gasps in shock. The crown prince is missing a face. The crown prince's face is a blank canvas. No eyes, no nose, no mouth. Nothing but clear, flawless, blank skin. You're the no-face guy always visiting me in my dreams," Salvie utters. "Who are you?" "Marry me if you'd want to find out," the crown prince answers. "Salvie, do you take our beloved crown prince to be your husband?" The officiator interrupts and asks one more time. Before Salvie can even finish her response, she gets blinded by another bright, illuminating light. Then the next thing she knows is her mother calling her name. "Salvie, Salvie, are you awake yet? Chris is here to see you," Salvie's mother calls out. Salvie grumbles as she pulls herself up from bed, still half asleep. She stays half asleep with head down, sitting on the bed until her mother calls for her one more time. "Coming," Salvie softly grumbles to herself as she finally gets out of bed. "It was just a dream. That guy visited me in my dream, within a dream," Salvie softly grumbles to herself as she struggles to put her slippers on. Salvie languidly gets downstairs to find her kitty Lika, licking Chris's hand and brushing against him for more pets, right in front of the front door. Chris appears to have just gotten in and Lika has welcomed him right away with kisses. Chris is Salvie's good childhood friend and neighbor. The two practically grew up together as their families are good friends. "Hey, good morning, sleepyhead," Chris greets as he gets back up straight on his legs upon seeing Salvie. "What are you doing here this early in the morning?" Salvie asks Chris, still sleepy. It's today." "Today? What's today? Do you think we can talk outside?" Salvie follows Chris outside. Chris reminds Salvie that he's leaving the country today, for good. Then he ends up confessing how much he has liked Salvie this whole time. Salvie freezes in place, unsure how to react. Not sensing any further or better reaction from Salvie, Chris tries to soften the blow. "I know that you probably don't feel the same way, but I just needed for you to know before I leave. For my own sanity. I'm sorry," Chris tells Salvie. Salvie remains expressionless and tight-lipped at Chris's confession. "Okay, well, I should go now before I miss my flight," Chris utters one more time with a nervous laugh before hopping into his taxi that's been waiting for him the entire time. After Chris has left, the image of the Crown Prince in Salvie's dreams flashes right in front of her once again. Salvie scans the no-face Crown Prince as much as she can in her memory. One other thing stands out besides the Crown Prince's non-existent face. The Crown Prince's shiny inverted obelisk crystal necklace. It looks oh so familiar to Salvie. Where has she seen it before besides around the Crown Prince's neck? Then Salvie retraces back to a flashback just from earlier. Chris was hunched down at Lika earlier, trying to get Lika's paws off that got caught into his necklace, his inverted obelisk crystal necklace. Then finally it hits Salvie. Salvie's mysterious no-face Crown Prince is Chris. Salvie grabs her bicycle and immediately rushes towards the airport. On her way, flashbacks of her childhood with Chris and how Chris has always been by her side through thick and thin all come flashing through. "Chris, it's been you all along. How could I not realize?" Salvie thinks out loud to herself as she pedals her bicycle through, still in her pajamas and tearing up. Salvie somehow makes it to the airport but unsurprisingly misses Chris. As Chris's plane accelerates for ground roll, Salvie rushes her bicycle to the side street along the runway, still attempting to catch Chris. Salvie knew at the back of her mind she wouldn't be able to catch up to Chris's plane. But out of frustration, Salvie kept running after him regardless. Salvie needed to vent, a release, an explosion. Salvie comes to a halt as Chris's plane takes off. Salvie bawls her eyes out, letting all her emotions out over the roaring sound of the plane. After she's done letting everything all out, she takes a deep breath and starts the long walk back home with her bicycle. As soon as Salvie gets back home, she hops onto her computer and starts to look for flight tickets to Switzerland. She's going after Chris.